Okay, so it's 2020. We've lived through another year with all its ups and downs, and change seems to be in the air. I am making a resolution this year to use a lot less plastic. I just feel it's really important to keep thinking about it. It's like with any bad habit, you just have to keep going back to your original resolution. Okay, so I slipped up, I bought something I didn't mean to buy, but from now on, I'm not going to continue to do that. It seems like a very restrictive way of life, but I am 67 and I'm old enough to be able to remind you that less than 100 years ago, we actually had no reliance on plastic whatsoever. We lived without it, really. So, for example, hair. My mother used to wash our hair in soap, with a bar of soap. I don't know how general that was, but shampoo was only just coming in. So, this is my last bottle of shampoo. I know I'm probably a little unusual in that I never have gone for the commercial products. I've always looked for the cheapest and the bulk buys. And this bottle has probably lasted me almost a year because I use very little anyway, but I'm still not going to buy any more shampoo like this. I'm going to go back to using bars of soap like Mummy used to do. I'm probably also a bit unusual in that I don't care too much about the perfumed products. I just can't see the point of them. And considering that a lot of people become sensitive to them, it doesn't seem like a good idea health-wise to use them. I know people want to make themselves look pretty. I had a go. See, if I'm not going to use plastic, I can't actually dye my hair anymore because it all comes in plastic containers, except possibly powdered henna. Maybe you can get that in a paper bag. I don't know, but is personal vanity really enough of a reason to devastate the planet with your plastic pollution? Yeah, my bins, because we've had Christmas and New Year, I suppose, the bins are relatively full. One thing I've done with my bins is I've stopped lining them. It's not necessary to have plastic bin liners. Just make sure your rubbish is clean. I try to use up all the food, except I can't use animal bones for anything. Once I've boiled them up and got the stock out of them, I wrap them in newspaper. No need for plastic whatsoever. Well, yeah, I said I put animal bones in my bin. I confess, I eat meat. I'm not going to stop eating meat. I need to support local meat-producing businesses, and I don't feel it's good to jump to extreme conclusions of any kind as regards diet and our use of the planet. Even with the plastic thing, I'm not saying, I'm not going to have plastic in my life at all ever again. That would be impossible. That would just make my life really, really difficult. And it's the same with meat, because the vegan ideology, because it is an ideology, is very extreme, and I don't think it's all that well thought through. I mean, it's like there's two absolute extremes. On the one side, there's the defiant meat eaters who insist on having burgers every day and sod everybody else. And then there's the vegans who insist that nobody should ever have meat because it's a holocaust for the animals and it destroys the planet. Not convinced that veganism doesn't destroy the planet, because then you've got to use a lot more plastic. You've got to wear plastic clothes because you can't use natural fibres. Because you can't use animal protein, you have to somehow manufacture protein out of soybeans or whatever. And that has unintended consequences as well. The number one argument is that we didn't evolve to eat meat, and it's unnatural to eat meat. Well, that's their point of view. But if you look at evolution, you can see that we couldn't possibly have evolved without meat. Meat was a ready source of the nutrition that we needed to develop our big brains. And it might have been a good thing if we hadn't developed our big brains, but we did. Our biochemistry is very complex, and we need a lot of different substances for optimal health. And I still think it's simplistic to say, you can live as a vegan, you just need to supplement the B12. The B12 is what you know about, you don't know what else you're missing out on. I do think people who feed their dogs a vegetarian diet are perhaps missing the point about dogs. Dogs can survive on vegetarian food, true, but give them a choice, and what will they go for? They'll go for the meat, the animal protein every time. I speak from experience here. Also, when you buy the animal food, the dried biscuits, I don't know what I'm going to do about this because I have a dog and I tend to buy the big packs of dried biscuits that are supposed to contain all the nutrition your animal needs. Well, it sounds like a very boring diet. It's a cop-out, really. And when you look at the bag, even when you buy bags that are paper bags on the outside, on the inside, they're lined with plastic. So if I'm not going to buy those anymore, what am I going to feed my dog on? He does get a lot of scraps as well. But then if I don't eat meat most days, there's nothing for him. Is he going to live on potatoes and beans and cabbage? He'd love the cabbage, but I'm not sure about the potatoes and beans. So to get back to the vegan arguments as to why you should avoid having any animal products in your life, the problem with that is that you're going to have plastic in your life. We'll all be going around in polyester. So what I'm wearing at the moment, this is a cotton t-shirt. I'm afraid I'm probably unusual in this as well. I just don't care about fashion. I tried at one time when I was a teenager, I tried to wear fashion clothes and they all looked so rubbish on me that I gave up in the end. And the bottom line is that I like to feel comfortable, so I wear cotton. And on top of that, I got a woolen cardigan made from lamb's wool. Now the vegans will be throwing up their hands in horror. You can't use wool, it's animal exploitation. But wool is the natural thing to use. I'm sorry, we have been using it for a very long period of our evolution. Probably the first clothes we put on were animal skins. I think we do have a duty to avoid unnecessary stress and distress to animals, and when we buy things we need to bear that in mind. But think of all the plastic pollution that your alternative lifestyle is going to produce, all the little microfibers from your nylon garments that are going to enter the environment and destroy wildlife sooner or later. It really isn't so clear-cut. I think the most clear-cut thing is that we have gone so far along the road of producing and consuming and throwing away plastic that we really have to stop it. And I don't think anybody can argue against that. So let's do what we can for the planet. And Happy New Year, everybody.